So how's it going, everyone? My name is Hirsch. This is Money and Me podcast, the podcast where you see some of the most insightful conversation around the world of blockchain, crypto, finance, metaverse, and whatnot in the world of Web3. And today also I have two very influential personalities by my side. I will let them do the talking once I'm finished with this orientation kind of thing. So if you have hunger for similar content, please make sure that you check out other videos, of course, after watching this video. And I'm pretty sure that you would like that as well. And if you're hearing my voice for the first time, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel and like this video before even watching it, because it's going to be awesome. So we are going to dive into this conversation in the world of products, which are based over collectID. And what is collectID? We're going to learn in this podcast about it. So I have David and Sergio for that. How are you guys doing? First of all, let me know.
Hi, everyone. Also a big warm welcome from our side. So we are doing great. Just actually sitting today in the home office, and I think Sergio, you're in the office, right?
I'm in the worldwide HQ, yes.
Perfect. So we're doing really good. There's a lot going on. Just this year, we had a fantastic traction so far, and we are really happy to be on that call today with you.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Sergio, all that?
I'm doing super nice. We have a really cool team here because we have some new crew members since 4 months and really absolute talents. And it looks really nice and cool with working with them here in Zurich. So we are hungry. We are really hungry to develop the next big thing with all of them.
Yeah, amazing. And hunger lets you like cover all of these points that you want to cover in life. So we will move in deep into the podcast now. So right off the bat, I would be pleased to know about David and collectID. What does collectID offer and what is it trying to resolve?
Yeah, so actually can quickly show you what we are doing. So basically what collectID is providing is we are bringing physical products to the digital dimension and to the metaverse. So for example, that can be a jersey that I'm holding in my hand here. But it can also be any kind of fashion product, a sneaker, a handbag, whatever you name it. So a valuable physical products or emotional physical products. And we developed the technology to bring these physical products directly to the digital dimension. And how this works is very easy. We have an NFC tag that gets embedded inside the product. So for example, here, it's on the bottom of the jersey below this label. The NFC tag is integrated in the product and it contains a unique and dynamically encrypted identity. So every single product, my jersey, for example, gets a unique identity that makes it different than Sergio's jersey or your jersey. And we then use this unique identity and create a digital twin of the product on a blockchain. So we have the physical product, we have the NFC tag that links it to the digital world, and we have a digital twin as an NFT on the blockchain. And it might sound complicated for some of the listeners, so I'll just quickly show how easy that works. So the consumers, they just use their smartphone. There's actually no app needed. They can just tap the smartphone on the product. Then there's like this little app clip that opens up. And if you click here, you get either redirected to our own app, the collectID app, or to one of our partners' app, and you get the digital version of the product directly on your smartphone. And this is a very, very simple way for consumers to interact with blockchain, with Web3, or with NFT technology without, let's say, understanding exactly how a wallet works or how other parts of the technology work. So with this kind of technology, of course, we want to bridge the physical and digital world, and that brings various advantages. But even more important, we also want to encourage and engage a broader audience, actually the mainstream users in blockchain, because we believe it's still very niche. And with technologies like collectID, we can bring blockchain more into more hands of more people that are not, let's say, technically versatile or have this technological affinity.
Mm-hmm. I get it. Like the idea is amazing. Like you're using these NFC tags to kind of make these products unique, and these products are hosted on a blockchain. And you're also using Metaverse. But I want to ask, like, Is Metaverse really necessary for this idea to be valid? Just
That's a good question. So of course we started, it was all about authenticity. So we used the NFT as a digital twin or as a digital certificate of authenticity, uniquely linked to the physical product. So that was it. When 2019, when we started, no one was even thinking about the metaverse play with these decentralized items. But especially in our number one industry, football, I think the metaverse can play a very big role, or the sports in general. Because imagine, you buy this physical jersey, you scan it with a collectID smartphone or with a collectID app actually on your smartphone, you unlock the NFT, and then you will be able to use this NFT in a virtual stadium or even in a video game. So I think sport by definition could be one of the verticals, one of the industries that is even, it's in my opinion, is perfectly aligned to have some activities happening in the metaverse. But we still believe that there will always be a mix. People will still want to watch a game physically in stadium, but they eventually also want to look at digitally in a virtual stadium. And by using actually the merchandise product that is familiar, that the fans know, we think it's a very great way to jump into that world. So to come back to your question, it's only a part of the solution. It's not just about metaverse, but we believe that metaverse and explicitly video games will be a huge driver of bringing people to the metaverse. Or in other words, this gives a lot of NFTs an additional utility beyond speculation, where we see a lot of potential, especially in the sports industry.
interesting. Like it makes pretty much sense. Like you're using these jerseys or products to be a part of metaverse, kind of. Good. We will come back to that in the later part of this podcast. But before that, I would like to ask from you, what was the motivation behind collectID? How did you came up with this idea of collectID and eventually end up with Sergio in this what we can say venture?
I would actually like to give the word to Sergio. So maybe just as an introduction, I was actually facing counterfeiting myself. So I bought a pair of sneakers from an online shop from Hong Kong, and they have not been authentic. So that was the moment I realized that this is a problem, and that at the same time, myself, but also the founding team was, let's say, investing in cryptos and starting to think about cryptos. It was back in 2017 during the first ICO race. And we started to think about using blockchain to overcome this problem. And that was the moment I reached out to Sergio. So maybe Sergio, you can also tell a little bit more how we get in contact and then basically started this business together.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Dave, for this kind of introduction. Yeah, there was one guy, he wants to connect me within LinkedIn, and he wrote me, let's say, this kind of DM, and everybody knows, also your listeners, that normally you don't open these DMs, but it was something with crypto, it was with blockchain, it was with sneaker, online, and yeah, and at the bottom, this guy wrote, yeah, let's meet up in Zurich. And that's okay. Another, let's say, annoying meeting we ahead because I don't understand nothing. And yeah, I meet them. This guy, he went with clutches and let's say like this. It was, let's say, kind of a funny meetup. And he was talking really straight, like 45 minutes. And actually, at the end, I told this guy, yes, I'm in. But in my head, I didn't understand nothing. I just was, okay, blockchain, sneakers, reselling market. And then, yeah, I told David, actually, yeah, I want to be an enabler. I want to join this ride as maybe also a small investor with small money, but with my big network in the sneaker industry, let's say like that. But then we meet a second time, a third time, and suddenly I was, let's say, thinking, man, Dave, he has really a vision to really move things, to really, let's say, he has always the big picture, and I like that a lot. And at the end, I also told David, hey, I want to be an active part of it. And Dave gave me the chance also to become co founder, and it wasn't so easy because at this time I was moving to Warsaw. So I actually wanted to leave Switzerland, but Dave gave me also the freedom to go in a first, let's say, first 1-2 years work, then remote, and it was before the pandemic. But then as we began to gain some traction, to win some traction, collectID, I moved back without my wife. So that was my commitment to Dave. He can't become my wife or I'm his wife. No, funny joke aside, but it was super cool. And it was never, let's say, really just focusing about business. It was also a friendship to become. And also, let's say, we always have the big picture that we want to, again, I can't say it enough, to develop the next big thing together.
Interesting. And we should, everyone should be able to see the big picture because it's helpful in the long run, and it's kind of interesting story. Now we have talked about metaverse. I would like anyone from you to answer this question. Like, what do you expect from the world of metaverse and Web3? What excites you about this world of metaverse and Web3?
And maybe to start, I'm honest. I don't really know how the metaverse, or I know maybe there is multiple metaverse providers or different solutions, how this will exactly look like. And I think actually no one really knows. We have some ideas, but we had Second Life years ago. I guess some of the listeners have played Sims or other video games. I'm a big GTA fan. So somehow this concept of a second reality is already there. I think the biggest differentiation, and for me, that's a huge game changer, is this concept of the decentralized NFTs. Because this idea of decentralized ownership of digital assets, it allows us to own something in the internet. It allows us to own something in a digital environment. So to compare, for example, with a simple piece of MP3 or with a JPEG, that's something you can own it, but you can easily copy it and basically distribute it without any additional cost. And that was actually one of the biggest drivers of the internet. So for example, the availability of music, of videos, of everything, the whole streaming culture. But now the NFTs bring a completely new twist to that, because you can actually own a single unique piece, an asset in the digital world. And by providing this functionality, and I think that's actually the only functionality and the only thing NFTs are, it's an ownership or a right to own something in the internet. And I believe with that technology, with the NFTs, that can change these virtual worlds, and it can actually change the way how we interact. And for me, it's not so important in the end if this is then displayed as virtual reality, if it's augmented reality, or if it's just on a desktop. It's more about owning or becoming a part of that world and actually having the possibility to own, to sell, to buy assets completely decentralized, completely virtually in this Web3 dimension.
I agree, but how sensible is this NFT culture to you? Because to me, it's like I would rather choose to take a physical asset from an artist rather than a digital asset. So that's where I kind of fall off against NFT, because a physical asset is always better than a digital asset for me.
Yes. Just very shortly, I think we have to differentiate also between what you or what I think, and maybe what your younger brother or your son thinks about that. And I believe, and also if you look at the 14, 15, 16-year-old teenagers, they also really care what their avatars are wearing. They really care what kind of skins they are wearing in Fortnite. And this is just one example. So I'm with you. And if I would ask my dad, he would definitely support that 100%. But I think that the future and actually the next generation will prove that owning digital assets can be equally or even more important than actually owning physical assets. It's difficult to, let's say, imagine, but I think we should think from different perspectives, also different generations towards that.
Yes.
Yeah, you want
to totally agree on that, because at the end, it's not just I will own a physical or a digital. Why not owning both? Of course. And that's what, in my opinion, that will be. It's not. It never will be only, let's say, digital. I think a lot of people have fear of that. Yeah, we will miss all the physical, and it's just combining both worlds. And at some point now, it feels like it's going to work, because Sims, okay, at some point, yeah, you game, you are funny, but you grow also. But now you can maybe in 2-3 years, we are not doing this here right now in a Zoom call. So we are really in a metaverse, in a, let's say, in a meeting room with our avatars. Everybody has his own clothes on, and not only, let's say, 10 shirts you can buy at the metaverse shop. It's your closet you are bringing with you. So for me, it's more this combination about physical and digital, and that will be really interesting. And yeah, we are still there, because again, only 10% in Switzerland, for example, own wallets like this. So we are really at the beginning right now.
Yeah, we are really at the beginning, and kind of like you said, we are in this amalgamation of digital and physical, and things are kind of coming full circle. But the biggest challenge that I see in this world of metaverse and NFTs is that we do not have proper infrastructure, I would say. For this, we do not have proper technological advancements. Maybe in 5-10 years we will reach there. And yeah, like the thing that happened with Google Lens, it didn't came into like wide acceptance, is because it was not as like efficient on your body. Like VR headsets right now, you cannot just wear them whole day, and kind of like you would just feel it's very clunky to your body. So yeah, the biggest challenge to metaverse is, for me right now, is like technological advancements. So it promises a lot, but we do not have that much technology right now to talk about it. So yeah.
Yeah, and actually that's a very good point. The question is, will, let's say, this starting actually the runway, will the runway be long enough? So, and with the runway, I don't mean the runway of cash in a startup. I mean actually the excitement within the society, because it can, and I'm with you, especially the virtual and the video game realities. This is a hell of development. So that's not easy to develop. If you look at the video game like GTA, that's really next level computer engineering and software development. So the question for me is, now we have all these promises and everybody's excited, but if it will take us 10 years to get there, we will see a massive reality check during that time. And people will definitely lose interest because they were expecting more. So the question is also, what are the expectations now, while how long will it actually take to get there? But for me, again, and I agree, probably that's the biggest limitation, let's say the technological advancements, especially towards VR and AR. But even if a metaverse exists on a desktop, or it's for example, similar to the video games that we are using right now, FIFA, Fortnite, you name it. I think still having the possibility to own something in that world, and not just own it in one video game, eventually owning it across video games, across platforms, actually having this interoperability. And I know that even there, we are still a little bit, we are quite some months or even years away between full blockchain interoperability. But I think having this possibility to own an asset across different organizations or across different parties, that's in any case valuable, independent from however this will be displayed, either VR, AR, or simply on a desktop or mobile.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Metaverse is promising, but yeah, that's the question of future and technology, to be honest. Now,
Yeah.
I would like to move on to the next question, which is like, where do you see blockchain going on for your industry, and how far do you think the technology associated with blockchain and metaverse will go on being decentralized?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think the question actually maybe even one step earlier is, for what use cases, for what applications is decentral data storage really useful and really needed? Because we see a lot of use cases these days. If you break it down, you don't need decentralized database. It's simply PR, point. So where it could be interesting, in my opinion, is to enable different organizations, maybe even using different technology stacks within their organizations, but then to match them on another layer, on a layer higher to, for example, interact with each other. As an example, this could be a blockchain from different luxury companies where they authenticate and store their luxury products. And this would not be in the database of one single producer. It would actually be independent from one manufacturer or from one brand. So that's actually an area where I could see a lot of development. And then for me, the second question when it comes to the technological development and what I believe will be a driver, I think wallet and blockchain interoperability are the two keywords, because we have a ton of different blockchains, we have a ton of different wallets and wallet providers, but actually to make that mainstream, it's probably needs one or two or ideally one standard that is adapted widely. And I think the question there is, will the blockchains, for example, be able to speak with each other? Will it be possible to transfer an NFT from one blockchain to another? I mean, I know that some of it is possible already with plasma bridges and other concepts, but in my opinion, it's still far away from being mainstream adopted. And there is a lot of questions. And I think that's also one of the reasons why it's so exciting to work in that area, because there is so many open questions that you don't know, that we don't know, that I would say no one knows. It's just about trying it out. And that's fascinating.
But do you think like a system could be purely decentralized? Because we have seen it in Bitcoin, like when Chinese miner have that monopoly in mining, and in Ethereum, when Ethereum got hacked, Ethereum kind of split it into two parts, and that's kind of centralization that you can see there. So for you, is there anything like practical pure decentralization?
Yeah, so that's a good point. So I would say we definitely see some, let's say, natural decentralizations, as you say, either with proof of work concepts. I mean, I see the advantage of pure decentralization only in, let's say, the possibility to democratize the internet. So from a philosophical perspective, I love it, because we have Amazon, Google, Facebook, and some other companies basically ruling the internet. And we have the same in China or in the Asian world, but it's just a few. And actually the concept of co-owning and decentralized autonomous organization, a DAO, that actually no one really owns, but everybody's part of, I think it's beautiful. The question is, and that's not my, let's say, area or my area of expertise, is A, do the governments, do the existing elites and the regulators allow that? Or will they come up with regulations that prevent these kind of systems to exist and be successful? And B, as you say, for a lot of use cases, is also the question, what's the advantage for the end consumer, for example, from a decentralized marketplace compared to a centralized marketplace that is perfectly managed, that everything is taken care of, shipping, guarantees, insurance. So this is also a question of convenience. And we are used to this very convenient internet. And I'm not sure if we will have adaptation for full decentralized applications. Again, based on A, will it be regulated? And B, will the, for example, consumers be open, for example, to manage their own passwords, to manage their own private key? Or is it just 10 times more convenient to have someone to do that for you, but then it's centralized? And I would say these are the two questions. I don't have answers on that. We will see.
So what I think is like, we need centralization at some point, even in decentralization, to like, because it is evident even from history, like people are not, like everyone is not good at deciding what is good for everyone. So there's need for some sort of centralization, even in this decentralization. Yeah.
And also with the physical world. So what Sergio said before, when we think about, and it's actually what we do, when we think about merging physical and digital, we also need some decentralization. So let me also give you an example. So we have this newest kind of projects where we have an NFC tag on the wine bottle. And basically this protects the authenticity. And it would allow you to fully decentrally sell or buy this bottle from a private person, P2P. We don't need an intermediary, completely decentralized. But this is still a physical bottle. So the question is, how was it stored? Temperature, light, etc. And that means you have still a central entity storing the physical bottle, even if the digital certificate can be stored and shared decentralized. So you see, you can, for example, have the physical part decentralized, but the digital part, but the physical part will stay decentralized. So I think it's a mix. As you said, there will be certain parts by definition that are centralized, but maybe some other areas can experience more decentralization in the future.
Coexistence. Now, like we have talked about blockchain. So how do you implement security in collectID? Because keeping in mind these hacking attacks that has happened only last year over blockchain are tremendous and numerous. So I would like to know from you, how are you implementing security in collectID?
I mean, from a hardware perspective, I would say the system is very, very secure. So we are using a very advanced encryption, and all of this intelligence is built in-house. And for us, it's more the question of reward versus effort, because I believe actually everything is hackable. It's just a question of time and resources that you put in. So what we have to ask ourselves is, if we protect a $100 product, of course, the security doesn't need to be as high as, for example, when we protect a $5,000 or $10,000 handbag. So the question is always risk versus reward, or in other words, the more sophisticated, the more expensive the products that we protect are, the more sophisticated the protection needs to be. And what we do for security is that we have all these systems developed in-house, so we don't rely on third-party software providers. And then in the end, but we are only as secure as the blockchains that we are running on. So if Ethereum or Polygon gets hacked, this could also affect us. But then we would still have the mirroring in our central database so that we could still check which item belongs to which owner, where again, we also need to protect ourselves not to get our central database hacked. So I would say with blockchain and with our encryption, we have a much higher security standard. We create quite high obstacle, and it's typically economically not worth to hack us, because the reward, for example, of selling one jersey is not worth to invest so much time. So it's more about creating financial obstacles, while when we would put a Mona Lisa on our chain, then it would look different, because then one single item would be, I don't know, 50 millions. We have to rethink the security from that perspective.
Yeah, completely agreed. Because yeah, like no one would hack up full blockchain for a product worth 100 USD. Yeah,
exactly.
I get your point.
Okay.
Now, a connecting question to that, like, why did you choose this data structure blockchain when we have traditional digital signatures with us that can protect our digital assets? So why did you choose blockchain?
So in the very first place, and we also started on the Ethereum blockchain, which is a completely public chain, as you know, we really believed in this kind of everybody becomes the expert. It's not, let's say, one central entity that at any point could change this data and say this jersey is not original, or that you are not the authentic owner. So we wanted to have the ID of the product. That's actually where the name is coming from, collectID. The ID of the product and the ID of the owner, we wanted to have these two things stored decentralized, in order even to avoid that even the brand that produced that could change that later on. Again, you can still argue if that's needed or not. Some brands will say we can also store that in a central database. That's correct. But then I would say, what if you don't exist in 5 years anymore, but I still have my products? Who is running your servers, etc.? So I think there is a value added of having that additionally stored decentralized, but at the same time, we also admit that probably the majority of the users is still not understanding this. So it's just a process that people get aware of it, that people start to buy wallets, to make wallets, and to start decentrally owning stuff. But of course, the majority hasn't experienced that. So I think we're still in that kind of transition.
Yeah, that's a great point that you raised. Like, that's the great utility of decentralization that we can see. Like, if the centralized authority is no more there, then how are you going to validate your products? That's a great way to put it up. And also, one thing that was coming into my mind was the added security that blockchain provides you is greater than digital signatures, because blockchain kind of uses these digital signatures itself. And then this blockchain is the ledger that is shared among the entire community. So that security is exponentially raised now. So
Yeah.
I think that's also an advantage. But in this particular case, it's not a big advantage because digital signatures also provide good security, I guess.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we have talked a lot about technical terms right now. I would like to know about your recent engagement in football community. What was the reaction of the players? What were they expecting from you guys? And what was the reaction when they see that technological advancement coming into this world of football and sports?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, this came by accident. So in the beginning, we were completely focusing on sneaker. So we had also Sergio, mainly responsible for this sneaker and streetwear fashion area. And then we just did the very first project together with a local football team here in Switzerland. And we realized that after the first project, the fans love it. And again, it's not so much the fact of actually owning the NFT. That's probably relevant for 5, 10, maybe 15% max of the total fans. For the rest that use our technology, it's much more about interacting digitally with a physical product. Scan your jersey to unlock additional content. Use your jersey or your NFT of the jersey as a set of rights. And when buying the jersey, you're not just buying the jersey, you're also buying this set of rights. I don't know, this allows you to meet the player, to get specific content, to go in the stadium with that jersey, etc., etc. And there, as I said, we accidentally worked, or let's say by accident, we worked together with a first team, but then it was so successful. And the beauty of sport is what works for team A, you can more or less scale for team B, C, D, E, and F. And that's how we get successful and more successful in the sports industry. And I would say for us, for the fans, the number one reason to use the technology is to get more experiences, content, or something special with your physical product. And the number one reason for teams or organizations to use this is to get access to the end consumer, to get access to that data. So it's probably not so much about protecting the authenticity. I know that these jerseys get faked, a lot of them. But to be honest, the number one reason that the teams work with us is that they know exactly this fan owns this product. That fan owns that product. And having this information is very, very useful, especially when it comes to targeted marketing or other marketing campaigns.
Nice. It's amazing, like how the things are connecting here. First, you're getting better engagement, then you can use this data for marketing. So I love this idea now. Now,
Thanks.
So I would like to ask a general question that is very recurrent in our audience, I guess in every audience for that matter. Like, any advice from you guys for the new generation of entrepreneurs out there who are afraid to go out and pitch in the front of a VC or an investor? Any advice from you guys?
Just do it. No, I think that's really the most important. I'm also curious to hear your advice, Sergio. I think for me is it's really about getting started. I think we had a lot of difficult times. I mean, we started the company in 2019, and then we were like active in business for a little bit more than half a year, and then Corona came. So we had like 2 years of COVID. Of course, this was a very stressful time. And now 2021 was actually the best year so far. We've already broken all the records in 2020. We have already more revenues than last year. So again, this will be a record year, but we had very hard time before. And I think even now, when I look back and have all these hard times, I would always do it again. And that would be my number one advice. Don't think too much about your secure job. Don't think too much about, I don't know, your studies. If you have a great idea and you find someone or a team to work together on that, yeah, pitch it. Let's try. And then if the investors tell you it's stupid, yeah, maybe you listen to them, maybe you adjust your pitch. But just in the end, if people want to do something, they should do it. And we as a society should foster that way more. We should really engage and foster people that try to start something, even if they fail, because that's the only way we as a society evolve and how innovation can happen.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely true. And also, for my opinion, really important is to really be passionate about your product, even if it's a technical product. To be honest, you need to have this passion. If your big vision is to be a millionaire and drive a Porsche, of course, it's super nice. But I think it should be the passion should be your main driver. Without that, don't start. Be in your job, be happy, go back to your family, have a healthy life. But when you have something passionate about it, and even better when it starts from a problem you have, and you want to make a bigger solution for, let's say, for everyone out there, that is for me kind of the base that also David showed to me. And I had it for my other company, which I founded. But Dave, I never expected that a technical product somebody can this passionate to be, and it is absolutely possible. So first thing is the passion, and the second thing what David also mentioned is the team. So even it's not, of course, co-founders are really important, but it's also the first employee. It's always also the team, because as much passion they are, everything gets really also better, because at the end, everyone is sacrificing a lot in this kind of startup, because you have a lot of pressure. It's in personal, it's in the business, it's everything and believing. And then, of course, you need to have somebody who is, let's say, a monster in pitching. And actually, Dave is a big monster in pitching. So he's always killing it on the stage. So that is, let's say, the secret recipe, which is not secret anymore. So listeners, just record this and view it again. But I think, yeah, again, passion is one of the main drivers.
Mm-hmm. Passion is indeed a main driver when it comes to like pitching to someone. Like, if I'm passionate enough about my product, and if I'm telling you that thing with that passion, then it might impact the person, even if the idea is not that good, though your product should be good.
100%. I think that's a really crucial point, and investors tell that a lot. We don't invest in technology, we don't invest in products, we invest in people. And I was always thinking this is blah, blah, blah. But I see it myself. Now I'm also helping some younger entrepreneurs that just started with some advice, or I help them to shape the pitch deck. And what I see is, if you have like 2-3 motivated persons coming from university or coming from somewhere else, if you can really feel that hunger and that willing and this passion to do something, in the end, you know, just by seeing them, that they will be successful. Eventually, not with that venture or with that idea, but at some point they will be. And on the other side, also question back to you. You like what you're doing, right? So of course this is work, but it also makes fun. And I think if you have fun while working, if you're passionate while working, that's the best thing that can happen to you, because otherwise you have a 9-to-5 job and you're just looking on your watch to get done and get at home. But if you have fun what you're doing, that's the best thing.
Yeah, of course. Like, you can compare it with, like, when you go out to play as a kid, the time passes like a second. And when you study in the school, like the traditional form of learning, where you're just learning I should say rote learning, the time passes very slowly. Even a minute is like 5 minutes. And in contrast to that, when you're playing outside, the time passes in a second. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So we should do what really comes from inside. Yeah. And you know what is the biggest obstacle that I think comes when you try to build a startup or a venture or something like that? I think it is finding similar motivated individuals, because not everyone is made for that, to be honest. Yeah. So, and these kind of people, I guess, are also rare. Like the probability of finding these people are also less. So I guess that's the biggest obstacle. Like finding motivated individuals that are motivated towards the idea, that have good work culture, like they are giving in their 100%, not just talking about the product. They are also putting in some work. So I
Yeah,
guess that's the biggest challenge.
absolutely. And on all levels, the founders, the employees, the investors, the advisors, that's the biggest challenge, to find like-minded people that have the same passion to achieve the same things. And this is the only way it works. As Sergio said, the team is so key. And of course, the founding team is crucial, but then also the first employees and the employees that follow, they decide what culture you have. They decide if the product in the end is successful, and you are nothing without the team.
Mm-hmm. And I think like maybe um, most of the ideas are good, but reason why most of them fail is because people are not motivated enough. They they like, we like to say things as humans, we like to say things, but when it comes to work, most of us fails, and those who work over that thing nail the thing out. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, because it's always like this. Absolutely agreeing on that.
Mm-hmm. So another question, like many people might be thinking like, how are you eligible to answer about this funding and all? So to those viewers who doesn't know about collectID has recently raised 3.5 million USD in seed funding. So I'd like to know from you guys, how was the experience in all of that?
Yeah, of course. First of all, I mean, this was, let's say, crucial, life-saving for the startup, because we are still, let's say, relying on these funds from investors. So we need that to keep the company alive and to actually develop the company. So that's the first point. And then, yeah, the second point was obviously there came a huge resonance or a huge echo in the media. So a lot of newspapers, a lot of media pages actually picked that up and were speaking or were writing about this story. So of course it also helps us. So I would say it's crucial for the further development, also for the growth of the company, to do that step. And of course it's also a huge reward and a clear sign from the market that we are up to something. And at the same time, it gives us a lot of reach and resonance in media and in social media and on all these channels.
Mm-hmm. So
Yes,
you want to add something to it?
yeah, and maybe don't not forget, because it sounds really great to have 3.5 million. Of course, it's yeah, but there will come also a big pressure now, because a lot of people are believing in us, and a lot of people want to work with us. A lot of people maybe want to cheat on us, to be honest. So we need to be also really carefully making next steps. And again, it will close the circle. We also then need the right people for that, also to bring really this kind of vision with the smaller team have before the seed round. Now we are scaling it up. There are coming more ethics into the team. There are coming more opinions, more fightings, and that it's not so easy, to be honest. And also opening up something now, maybe in the US, you can maybe tell that. So we are facing a lot of challenges now, but I think everybody's motivated, and that's the good thing, that we want to face these challenges and we want to solve it.
Great passion, I can see. And with, as I said, with great powers come great responsibility. So yeah, any ending, like, so I would like any ending message that you would like to give to the viewers of this podcast?
Yeah, so I think first, yeah, or Sergio, go ahead.
I was just telling listeners, just download the app, buy a product, and make us happy. No, it's,
I
let's
think
say,
actually that's the best advice that you can give. Yeah.
oh, it's just again, to all there. If again if you are passionate, if you have idea, if you have a problem, you want to solve it, just make it happen. Believe in you, believe in other people. Give up also a little bit of responsibility to other people. And if you fail, you fail. Stand up and make it again. Because don't be fear of that. It's not given that everything works out, to be honest. So just do what you really believe it, and but do it the right way. If you are not willing to do it the right way, please be happy. Again, it's not bad to have a 8 to 5 job, because A lot of people have that, but then be happy with that what you have, and that's, let's say, kind of my advice.
Mm-hmm.
And I have nothing to add here. Perfectly said.
Nice, nice. So he said it and you heard it. And guys, this was really a very insightful conversation for me. And in a long time, I have generally like any idea. Like I genuinely loved what collectID is doing and the whole concept of revolutionizing this product and how are they being uh, interacted with. So yeah, it was a really great and insightful conversation as far as I'm concerned. And I'm pretty sure that viewers who would watch this podcast would also love this. And if you have any questions, comments, queries, suggestions, and anything, you can jot them down in the comment section below. And I hope that Sergio and David would also love to answer them, even though I would answer them all. So yeah, this was it for today's podcast. I will come back with similar podcast another time. So this was it for Money and Me podcast. I'm signing out. My name is Hirsch.